Chapter 76. Wang Ling sat in front of his desk, which was covered with a large pile of exercise books. Although he had gone to participate in the 4-day spirit sword exchange meet on behalf of the school, Teacher Pan's principle of handing in homework hadn't changed. What had to be handed in still had to be handed in, no matter how much homework had been missed. The intelligence of these two gremlins, pen and eraser, was linked to Wang Ling's. Wang Ling could order them to automatically complete homework for him, but the prerequisite was that he had already grasped the knowledge for the homework. After missing 4 whole days of class, what Wang Ling needed to do now was to make up for the knowledge he had missed. As for the work on the tip of the pen, it would be left to the two gremlins, pen and eraser. It took Wang Ling 2 minutes to compile a list of this week's learning content for easy sorting out. He found that there were actually quite a lot of missing knowledge, especially cultivation physics and advanced cultivation mathematics. In just one weekend, these two teachers had actually assigned 5 test papers each. To use one word to describe it, it was infuriating. To use another word to describe it, it would be insanity. This was probably the first reaction and attitude of most students when they saw this pile of homework. On the contrary, Wang Ling was a very studious person. Ever since he was a child, he had taught himself everything he knew about cultivation, including the 3,000 great daos. It was like the facial features and hair of a baby at birth, which had been deeply imprinted in his mind from the moment he was born. But language and culture learning were the result of Wang Ling's hard work. And Wang Ling himself very much enjoyed this process of hard work. Learning was the only thing that could make him happy. At his desk, Wang Ling opened his textbook, put on the earplugs and turned on self-study mode. Previously, he had heard people complain about how this earplugs could cut off the endless telepathic communication brought on by the mind-reading ability. The reason was very simple. It was because this earplugs contained the same material used to make the talisman seal, which Wang Ming had personally invented. It was a peaceful and tranquil weekend because Wang Ling's eyelid warning hadn't sounded any alarms in advance. Around noon, a gray commercial jianghu RV was parked not far from the Wang family's small villa. "Miss, we've arrived. This is the place." In the limousine, a well-dressed old butler turned his head and said to a girl. The girl crossed her slender legs and looked to be about 12 years old. She was not tall, wearing a pair of cropped jeans, a loose hip-hop top and an Aral hat. The 2 little wings on the side of the hat stole the show. This was a little Lolita with a delicate face and the appearance of a child star. Fortunately, there were not many people around the Wang family's small villa. Otherwise, the young girl would definitely be recognized. Of course, in the past, the young lady enjoyed being recognized in front of others. But now that she was in a place where no one passed by for half a day, the young lady no longer expected anyone to recognize her. Sighing slightly, the girl looked through the window at the Wang family's small villa not far away. "The man that my sister has taken a liking to is in that villa?" "Yes, it has been thoroughly investigated, miss." "Eh? Could it be that you investigated wrongly? How could my future brother-in-law be a poor wretch living in such a desolate suburb?" "There's no mistaking it, miss. This is the address I got from eldest Mrs. Personal Driver, Lu Zhao." The old butler answered in full detail, "But I have to remind you that it's a little too early to call him brother-in-law. Although we now advocate free love, eldest Mrs. marriage is very complicated. When eldest Miss was born—" Fine, don't tell me this. You're so annoying." The young lady rolled her eyes. "Isn't it just the yin and yang death tribulation? I've known about it for a long time. I also know that the fortune teller left behind a message telling you the way to break this yin and yang death tribulation." The old butler broke out in a cold sweat. "Miss, be careful, that's an exalted immortal from Immortal Castle." The young lady shrugged helplessly. "This is the scientific cultivation era. I don't know where you get all these feudal superstitions from. I don't think this old faker's solution is reliable at all. When the yin and yang are in chaos, I'll dye the blue sky with my membrane blood. It sounds like complete nonsense, okay?" The old butler shook his head with a wry smile. "It's better to believe it than not. Besides, this was what the exalted immortal from Immortal Castle said. Eldest Miss must find this extraordinary person who can dye the blue sky with his membrane blood in order to break the death curse." The young lady couldn't be bothered to continue arguing with this inflexible old butler. She straightened her clothes and got ready to get out of the car. She looked at him. "Have you prepared the gifts?" Although it was their first meeting, she still had to prepare some gifts so that she wouldn't lose the demeanor of Huagua Water Curtain Group. This was what the family had taught Sun Yu since she was a child. The old butler placed a Cosmos storage bag into Sun Yu's hands. "Young miss, there are 2 longevity immortal peaches in this storage bag. After eating them they can prolong your life and moisten your intestines and loosen your bowels. After eating them they can nourish your skin and loosen your bowels and loosen your bowels. After eating them they can dispel internal toxins and loosen your bowels and loosen your bowels. After eating them they can nourish your stomach and loosen your bowels and loosen your bowels. In addition. Enough. Sun Yu didn't wait for the chatterbox to finish. She snatched the storage bag frantically and hurried out of the car. The young lady stood at the entrance of the Wang family's small villa, completely unaware that a serious man was studying on the second floor. After pacing back and forth in front of the villa for a while, Sun Yu mobilized all her brain cells to think of an opening speech. It was the weekend. The person who would open the door might not necessarily be the male classmate that her sister had taken a fancy to, but most likely his parents. Then when she opened the door, should she say her real name or her stage name? Her stage name was Xue Tao, and Sun Yu thought that her name was quite well known. But there was no guarantee that her reputation would spread to such a remote area. It would be very awkward if someone didn't know her stage name. Just as Sun Yu mustered up her courage and was about to knock on the door, figures suddenly flashed in front of her, and two burly men each 10 feet tall, jumped down from the roof beam. Holy shit! Who are you? Sun Yu was stupefied. Miss, I'm very sorry. Chapter 77. Sun Yu's gaze was fixed on the two burly men in front of her. Although she hadn't reached the foundation establishment stage, she had already learned how to use her spiritual sense. When she had been pacing back and forth in front of the Wang family's villa, she hadn't sensed the aura of these two burly men at all. This was enough to prove that, on paper, their strength was much higher than hers. Moreover, the two big baldies standing in front of her gave her a very strong sense of oppression. But judging from their appearances, these two bald men were very simple and honest. Sun Yu didn't even bother to ask if they recognized her, because she felt that they definitely weren't normal people. One was dressed like Iron Man, and the other was wearing a straw hat and a red vest. If they were her fans, their tastes wouldn't be so strange. Brothers, I just came to deliver something. I'll leave right away. What is it? It's not constipation pills, is it? The two burly bald men were like security guards, staring at the storage bag in her hand. The bald man dressed like Iron Man said, "Earlier someone tried to rush us for more. They sent blades, missiles, and an APTX 4869 capsule to the villa, almost causing a disaster. So, young lady, please cooperate with us. You can't go in. If something is delivered here, we can check it first before deciding whether to keep it." What the hell was this? Why the hell was there a missile? What was in this villa that attracted so much hatred? Sun Yu pointed helplessly at the storage bag. Do you know Huagua Water Curtain Group? This storage bag is filled with tonics developed by our company. Moisturizing youth-retaining pills, black-yellow detoxification pills, 8 Immortals health pills. Hearing this, the two burly men suddenly understood. They really are here to deliver constipation pills. *CK. Sun Yu took a deep breath. What do I have to do to get in? Only after his lordship has finished his studies. Sun Yu gritted her little canine teeth. Then what if I insist on breaking in? Then we can only try our best to stop you from breaking in without hurting you. Young lady, I think we should come back another day to visit. When the old butler saw that Sun Yu was stopped by two burly men, he quickly stepped forward to mediate. But Sun Yu was, after all, Sun Yu. He had been pampered since he was young and had the burden of being an idol. Did two mere servants think they could shut him out? How preposterous. Hey, what's there to be afraid of? Aren't you here? Sun Yu curled her lips in disdain. The old butler was speechless. Although the old butler was also a golden core expert, he was still intimidated by the aura of the two bald men. His instincts told him that these two people were not to be trifled with. With one look, he knew that these two people were not ordinary people. The aura on his body was very strange, not like the aura of a human. I'd like to see how you're going to stop me. The cute girl wearing Aurelia's hat tried to raise her voice to boost her presence and make herself more intimidating. However, this slightly childish voice seemed a little ridiculous compared to the high-pitched scream. The faintly discernible aura fluctuations made the two bald men, pen and eraser, smile faintly, completely disregarding her. You dare look down on me? The girl was furious. She took out a small blue pill from a small satchel at her waist and swallowed it. The old butler jumped in fright. Young lady. You can't. But as soon as he finished speaking, the girl had already swallowed the pill with a gulp. This blue pill was called a beast-shaped pill. It was refined by refining the genes of spirit beasts. After swallowing it, one would enter a beast state for a period of time, preserving their intelligence and greatly improving their physical attributes and functions. However, there were often side effects. After swallowing the beast-shaped pill, the physical strength stimulated by swallowing it was an advance. After the effects of the pill wore off, one would fall into a weak state for the next 10 days. The old butler sighed slightly. He knew that Sun Yu was really angry this time. The beast-shaped pill the girl had swallowed contained the genes of a six-winged thunder leopard. The moment she swallowed it, the effects of the pill took effect. Faint leopard patterns quickly appeared on the girl's fair and flawless skin. Even her ears had turned into round leopard ears. In a short period of time, the girl's strength had already risen to the foundation establishment stage, and the six-winged thunder leopard's lightning attribute was an even greater killing weapon. Added to the girl's transformed pair of claws, even an Aurus core stage cultivator would feel a numbing pain if they were scratched. Umph. With a cold snort, the girl, who had already completed her beast state, spread open her 5 fingers. Her originally neatly trimmed and round nails suddenly turned into sharp leopard claws. With a single step, she easily climbed up the outer wall of the Wang family's small villa. It seems that the pill just now contained the genes of a six-winged thunder leopard. It strengthened the strength of the 4 limbs and greatly improved agility and speed. The thunder leopard's thunder attribute is also very troublesome. However, the 2 strong men worked together and instantly turned into a blur, directly disappearing. Damn it. Before the young girl could react, the 2 brawny men had already appeared above her. One of the brawny men wearing a straw hat was tightly grabbing onto the young girl's 4 limbs. Sun Yu was shocked to find that the six-winged thunder leopard's lightning power had no effect on this man. In the end, the girl hadn't even climbed up to the windowsill on the 2nd floor when she was pulled down from the wall by the 2 strong men. Give up. The bald man dressed like Iron Man said to the girl. According to my observation, the maximum speed at which you can jump vertically is only V1 equals 16 meters per second. So as long as I easily jump up with an initial speed of V2 equals 18 meters per second, I can be higher than you and attack you at the same speed as I fall. But because the Lord loves peace, we didn't really make a move this time. We only used the method of stopping you. We said before that we wouldn't hurt you, so please don't continue to force your way in. Remember to go back and read more books and learn more. Your lack of knowledge is probably the reason why you lost. Oh, that's right, miss. By the way, this eraser guy next to me wearing a straw hat is a rubber man. So after you transform into your beast form, he has an insulating effect on the thunder power. Miss, please go back and quickly return to your beast form. The longer you stay in this state, the longer the subsequent period of weakness. The eraser guy on the side nodded. As for those constipation pills, it's fine if you want to keep them. We will definitely pass on the message to the Lord. Thank you for your kindness. Sun Yu. Chapter 78. In the end, Sun Yu was forcibly dragged away by the old steward. The stewards of Huagua Water Curtain Group weren't ordinary people, and old steward Lin San was no different. Steward Lin had watched his family's second miss grow up. Back then, when the cultivation world had been unhindered, Huagua Water Curtain Group hadn't achieved the world-renowned achievements it did today. Lin San was a veteran in the group and had seen a lot of the world. Even if this old steward wasn't very strong, he had the experience he had gained over the years to stay in Huagua Water Curtain Group. Uncle Lin. Let go of me. Let me fight it out with these 2 brothers. These were the last words the girl had said to the 2 brawny bald men before Lin San had unleashed her killer move, young girl's cute fist. Lin San sighed in his heart. In the end, his family's second miss was still too young and didn't understand the ways of the world. Given old steward Lin's many years of experience, there was probably an extraordinary person living in this small villa on the outskirts. On the side of the road, 2 bald men in aprons respectfully watched as Lin San drove away in this gray commercial jianghu limousine until it disappeared at the end of the road. Did we go too far? Our master likes to keep a low profile. What if they investigate our master? Before Eraser Man could finish speaking, he was interrupted. Have you forgotten our master's great shielding spell? I see. Realization dawned on Eraser Man. There's nothing for us to do now. Our master is almost done with his revision. We can go over now and help him with his homework. It took Wang Ling a full half an hour to fill in a week's worth of knowledge on his own, and he also previewed the content for the next 2 months. Wang Ling enjoyed the learning process very much, but he hated the fact that he hadn't studied for long enough, because mastering these points wasn't difficult for him at all. In contrast, after mastering all the knowledge, he also had to grasp the learning style of the whole class, find his own position, and then do his best to get an average grade. Thus, implementing the moderate education policy that Father and Mother Wang had instilled in him since he was a child. This was the most difficult part. At his desk, Wang Ling put his head in his hands and let out a long sigh of relief. The rest of the writing work was left to the two gremlins, the pen monster and the eraser. While Wang Ling was reviewing his homework, Father Wang wasn't idle. After hanging up with Lai Mingming on the phone earlier, he hurriedly continued writing the opening chapter of the novel. Father Wang was a swift and decisive person, especially when he was bursting with inspiration. The rhythm of his 10 fingers on the keyboard was so fast that he looked like a living tentacle monster. Just as Father Wang was writing to his heart's content like a fountain, his wristwatch suddenly rang. Father Wang frowned slightly. He hated being interrupted like this, but when he looked at the caller ID on his wristwatch and saw that it was Lai Mingming, he hurriedly adjusted his mood before picking up the call. "Hey, Big Hand, what's the matter?" "I'm writing." Other authors like to call Lai Shou Lai Mingming, but Father Wang had his own nickname, and preferred to call him Big Hand Lai Mingming. Wang Ling lay on his back in bed and took off his earplugs. The sounds around him poured into his ears, and without opening his eyes, he happened to hear Father Wang and Lai Mingming's conversation. Their voices flowed clearly into Wang Ling's mind. "Brother Situ, your book is going to be popular." Lai Mingming's excited voice came from the other end of the line. "I just uploaded your first chapter to the VIP website and guess what happened? Less than 2 hours. The number of hits has already broken 300,000. The first chapter has an 87% positive rating." Lai Mingming roared a little uncontrollably. Outsiders might not have any idea what this figure was, but it had to be said that the total number of old readers who had registered for 100-year-old accounts on the Cultivation Reading Network's independent VIP website was only 700,000. Furthermore, it had already stopped registering accounts several years ago. A website with a total of 700,000 registered users that could only be accessed by VIP readers had actually already read Father Wang's new novel. Furthermore, the overall positive rating was higher than normal, which directly shocked the entire EL department. Father Wang was naturally happy to hear this news, but given his personality, he would never make it too obvious. What's the point of having a lot of hits? Selling well is the way to go. "Brother Situ, don't be modest. Tell me the truth, did you transmigrate from the future?" Lai Mingming's question was very mysterious. Father Wang was blank when he heard this. First it was that let go of that wet nurse, and now your book The Live Streaming Life of the Immortal King is probably going to be popular again. Who knows, it might even break the website record. The few novels I've read before are all plagiarists who transmigrate from the future to the past. Don't tell me it's the same for you?" Lai Mingming said in amazement. "Big Hand, if you make this kind of joke again, I'll stop writing." Don't. It's just a joke." Zhugu had already left. If Wang Sita left as well, the website wouldn't be able to bear the loss. On the other end of the line, Lai Mingming smiled mysteriously. "I have another piece of good news for you." Listening to Song on the other end of the line, Father Wang's expression gradually turned strange. "What? The fan tipped me?" And directly recognized my alternate account in the review and comment section of the trial site. "You and I just decided to start a new book this morning, as well as to test the waters by posting it on the VIP website. No one else knows, not even my old readers. That's strange. We went to the website to investigate this ID. We discovered that the account of this 100-year-old VIP reader hadn't been logged in for a very long time. But at 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, he suddenly logged into the VIP trial site and changed his ID. We suspect that this account was either passed down from his ancestors, or that he bought it through some other channel." Father Wang frowned. At 2 or 3 o'clock this morning? He remembered that at that time, he had been gathering the wisdom of the masses in Little Shen's live stream room to choose a theme. Then, could this person be one of the audience members in the live stream room? Father Wang was a little confused. Even his old readers didn't know that he had finished the first draft of the first chapter and posted it on the trial site. How could it have been leaked in advance? Damn. Nowadays, even online novelists had say-seeing fans. On the other side, Lai Mingming calmed his thoughts and said, "Brother Situ, do you know how much this reader tipped you today? A whole 100 million cultivation reading coins." So much. Actually, Father Wang hadn't met such a generous reader for a very long time while he was writing Let Go of That Wet Nurse. 100 million cultivation reading coins was 1 million HNY. After splitting it with the website, that was an income of 500,000 HNY. Hearing that someone had tipped him so much all at once, Father Wang instantly felt a little emotional. What's this reader's ID? It's called. Super High School Level Deputy Director, Lai Mengmeng replied. Hearing this ID, Father Wang's face instantly darkened, and he cast a deep gaze toward Wang Ling's room. I have a rough guess, I'll call you back later. After saying that, Father Wang hung up the phone on his wristwatch. Wang Ling, come here. Chapter 79. In the staff apartment, Audiobooks stared blankly at the open box on his desk. At that moment, Audiobooks felt that he could completely empathize with the feelings of those bribers because he was feeling the same way. The box on the table was made of xuanhuan wood, which had strong dusting and waterproofing capabilities, and was also earthquake-resistant. The heirloom of the Zhuo family. He was several hundred years older than Audiobooks, and it had been passed down from generation to generation until it was now in Audiobooks' hands. There were 5 items in the family heirloom: a title deed to Jing City, a bank card with a large amount of money in it, a USB drive, a hard disk, and a phone card. The title deed of Jing City was the Zhuo family's ancestral land. According to the rules of the organization, the title deed could not be sold no matter what. This was originally Audiobooks' legal property, but in order to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings and even more so to avoid some scheming people framing him, Audiobooks' property had originally been his legal property in the last 2 years. Audiobooks hadn't gone back in the last 2 years and obediently lived in the staff apartment. Audiobooks didn't even dare write his own name on the black sports car, which had been passed down from his ancestors. The ancestors of the Zhuo family were rather miraculous. They were clearly people of average talent, but in a certain generation they suddenly became rich. Audiobooks could no longer find any historical records of the Zhuo family's sudden wealth in the ancestral records. He only heard that one day his great-great-great-great-grandfather had dreamt that he had traveled to Mars and seen 9 dragons pulling a coffin. In a daze, he had remembered the serial numbers on the coffin, so he had woken up to buy a lottery ticket. In the end, he had won an unprecedented huge prize. Now, after generations of squandering, although there wasn't much left for Audiobooks, it was enough for him to live an ordinary life without worrying about food or clothing. To be honest, the first 2 things were completely within Audiobooks' understanding. But when Audiobooks received the latter 2 items, he was stunned for 3 days and 3 nights. First, the suspicious USB flash drive. When Audiobooks opened the USB drive, he found that there was only one TXT file inside. In the document, there were tens of thousands of permanent VIP accounts and passwords, including the VIP reader accounts of the Cultivation Reading Network. Among the dazzling array of accounts, the 5-digit QQ account that had been uploaded by the Zhuo family's ancestors was the most valuable. As for the hard drive, the ancestor of the Zhuo family had put a laser label on this hard drive that had a full YB of RAM, learn a foreign language. Inside the hard disk, there were seeds from ancient and modern times, from all over the world, and from different cultures and cultures. Only this SIM card was the last thing that Audiobooks felt was most practical. On the other end of the phone card was the guardian of the treasure chest arranged by the Zhuo family's great ancestor. Apart from supervising the Zhuo family's ancestral teachings, the guardian was also obligated to help the heir of the treasure chest 3 times to the best of his ability to resolve crises. The guardian envoy didn't have a name. In the past, the inheritors of the treasure chest liked to call the guardian envoy ambassador. Hearing it too much would make people feel awkward. So when it came to Audiobooks' father's generation, he simply gave the guardian a creative nickname, Magical Little Black. After that, Audiobooks simply called the guardian Uncle Black. In order to investigate Wang Ling's true identity as a Shota 6 years ago, Audiobooks had mobilized Uncle Black's power. This time, in order to apologize, Audiobooks had mobilized Uncle Black's power once again to investigate Wang Ling's family background. After learning that Father Wang was actually the internet guru Wang Situ, it was as if Audiobooks had discovered a new continent, and he was amazed to find a way to get close to Wang Ling and save the country. During the Spirit Sword performance yesterday, Audiobooks felt that he had completely disgraced his little Sherfu. Moreover, Audiobooks knew very well that there was no way Wang Ling would accept a blatant bribe. Over the last few years, this young man with miraculous powers had been trying his best to avoid Audiobooks. So, after careful consideration, Audiobooks felt that the most roundabout and tactful way to directly have Uncle Black use his account to reward Father Wang was to directly do so. So this 100 million cultivation reading coins was just an apology fee. Given his esteemed master's strength, How could a mere 100 million cultivation reading coins be enough for an apprenticeship? Furthermore, with Uncle Black's reward, Audiobookslover didn't have to worry at all about the government's anti-corruption inspection team tracking him down. After all, 1 million wasn't a small amount. Staring at the treasure chest in front of him, Audiobookslover grinned from ear to ear, feeling that he was really 2F*** king quick-witted. While his imagination was running wild, the phone on his wristwatch rang, and he immediately knew that it had to be Uncle Black. According to past practice, this was a call back after the request had been completed. If the target mission didn't meet expectations, Uncle Black would definitely take action again until the mission was completed. "Hello, Uncle Black?" On the other end of the line, the man sighed, his voice low and magnetic. Are you doing well? Uncle Black, you're really too powerful. You could even investigate this." Audiobookslover exclaimed repeatedly, but somehow felt that Uncle Black's voice sounded even more hurried and nervous than usual. Uncle Black was silent for a bit, then said, "You should know why your ancestors left you this phone card. It can't be used like this. It was so that you could have some leeway if your life was in danger. And you actually squandered 2 chances to investigate the same person's identity." Speaking up to this point, Audiobookslover could clearly sense that Uncle Black's tone wasn't quite right, and he didn't know if he was angry. Audiobookslover knew that when Uncle Black had investigated Wang Ling back then, he had encountered extremely strong resistance. Specifically, he would completely forget the contents of the investigation in the blink of an eye. For a time, this kind of situation had made Uncle Black think that he was suffering from amnesia. Later, Audiobookslover had been forced to develop the habit of taking notes and recording the contents of his investigations. No matter what your relationship with this person is, I hope you can keep your distance from him. It's best if you don't get any closer. Otherwise, I have a feeling that my 3rd mission is very likely to be to collect your corpse, understand? Uncle Black's voice trembled a little as he spoke. Audiobookslover couldn't help raising his eyebrows. "Uncle Black, you're being too serious. Shifu is really powerful. Even Uncle Black is scared. As expected, he's no ordinary person. It's not serious at all." Uncle Black enunciated each word to show the seriousness of the problem. No one in the Zhuo family has ever stepped onto the political path. In this game of power, when the storm comes, it's far more dangerous than you can imagine. "Okay, Uncle Black, I understand. But, a new storm has already appeared. How can we stand still? I hope you'll consider my words carefully. From now on, I won't investigate any information about this family for you." After saying that, Uncle Black paused and directly ended the call. At that moment, in a mysterious laboratory on the border of Wuxia Nation, a mysterious man in black tights hung up the phone with trembling hands. Chapter 80. Actually, Wang Ling was well aware that someone was secretly investigating him. Otherwise, given Audiobookslover's little tricks, there was no way they would still be able to track him down after that incident 6 years ago. But if he wanted to find out who exactly was investigating him, he would have to quietly wait for the other party to give himself away. Since the last time Audiobookslover had come to number 60 high school to block him, Wang Ling had already been on guard. He had a feeling that the person hiding behind Audiobookslover was going to show up again. Wang Ling very rarely asked Wang Ming for help, but this time he edited the situation into a text message and sent it to Wang Ming. In less than 5 minutes, Wang Ming had sent him a string of numbers. These were the login coordinates of that book friend on the Cultivation U with the ID, Super High School Level Deputy Director 1. Although the mysterious monkey coder behind Audiobookslover was also a first-class computer expert, and habitually changed the coordinates and hid the account's location when he logged in, it was a pity that his opponent this time was Wuxia Nation's most powerful brain. After that, Wang Ling directly used the Great Teleportation spell to instantly teleport to a mysterious underground laboratory on the border of Wuxia Nation based on the coordinates provided by Wang Ming. And then, there was this scene in front of him. In the huge laboratory, Wang Ling suddenly appeared with both hands raised high in the air, and a huge ball of light with a primordial chi bullet was already waiting to be fired. The man in black tights was scared out of his wits and didn't even dare turn his head. Trembling, he followed Wang Ling's first instruction after arriving here and taught Audiobookslover a lesson. Who knew whether that guy had listened or not? What the F***K? The man had always thought that the person he was investigating was just an ordinary student. Who knew that he was actually a steel cannon who could carry a nuclear bomb with him? If this bomb was thrown here, forget this laboratory, even the border would be F***King flattened. With his back to Wang Ling, the man raised both hands. Exalted Immortal. I've already told you everything you wanted to say. This time, Father Wang had given Wang Ling a death order. He had to wipe his own ass clean, otherwise he would never be able to eat his favorite crispy noodle snacks at home again. Wang Ling nodded silently and put away the primordial chi bullet. He was pretty pissed off at Father Wang's scolding earlier. Feeling the light and wind pressure behind him decrease sharply, the man finally heaved a long sigh of relief. At least the results of his decades of painstaking research had been preserved. But without Wang Ling's order, the man didn't dare turn around at all. He gave the man a second instruction, which was to erase all the investigation records related to him. The man didn't even dare to breathe as he began to operate on the screen. 2 minutes later, the words "deletion successful" appeared on the screen, which was as wide as a satellite launch site. The man raised his hands again. "Don't worry, exalted immortal. I've deleted all your records. I didn't leave any copies." Wang Ling was silent for a while. In the end, he still didn't believe the man's words. He took a step, and a powerful spirit wave spread out with him as the center. Instantly, there was a series of bang 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 explosions nearby. Now he was a lot more at ease. At the very least, he could confirm that he had destroyed all the chips here that could be used to store data. The man held his head and shivered on the ground. Wang Ling looked around and realized that Little Black, the monkey programmer, actually had a lot of strange inventions. Among them, the most eye-catching one had to be a large steel cannon with a diameter of 1 meter. It stood erect like a chimney in the middle of the lab, and on either side of it hung 2 steel balls that looked like monkeys blocking thunder. Wang Ling pointed at the cannon and asked Little Black telepathically, "What is this?" Little Black held his head and didn't dare look at Wang Ling at all. He said timidly, "This is the Armstrong Cyclone Jet Armstrong Cannon." What the F***K was this name? The more Wang Ling looked at it, the more he felt that this cannon looked suspicious. And so, he raised his hand. After a flash of dazzling light, there was a deafening boom. The cannon was directly blown to smithereens. Billowing waves of air directly activated the lab's built-in firefighting system, and the sprinklers sprayed everywhere in a thick mist. When Little Black raised his head, he found that Wang Ling had already disappeared. In the destroyed lab, Little Black sat weakly on the ground. He was drenched from head to toe, and his black tights were wrapped around him like a swimsuit. Trembling, he took out a cigarette and silently lit it. Everything was destroyed. Little Black held his head in pain. His painstaking invention, the result of decades of research, and that Armstrong Cyclone Jet Armstrong cannon, had actually been destroyed in an instant. The most important thing was that when he faced Wang Ling, Little Black felt that not only was he unable to stop it, he couldn't even resist it. Given his realm, he wasn't at the top of the world, but he felt that he could at least shake the world. But when he faced Wang Ling, he felt a suffocating force. That earth-shattering pressure gripped his throat, making him feel like he had almost died. It had been a long time since Little Black had felt this real sense of oppression from the gap in realms. This person is really terrifyingly strong. Little Black shuddered as he smoked. Who on earth was the person he had been investigating all these years? After a cigarette, Little Black calmed his thoughts. He wanted to call someone to report the situation, but found that even his wristwatch had been damaged. There were no usable electronic products in the lab now. This wasn't just a moving human nuclear bomb. He was also a King moving EMP. Now that he couldn't make phone calls and the equipment was broken, Little Black could only write a report by hand and then look for an opportunity to report the damage to the lab. May 16th, sunny. The laboratory had suffered unprecedented damage. According to the current statistics, the laboratory had lost 3 satellite computers, 1 Armstrong Cyclone Jet Armstrong cannon, and 10 communication devices. All the data had been destroyed. The initial estimate was that the probability of recovery was minuscule, probably less than 0.1%. At the same time, the experimental subjects that had transmigrated to other worlds with the black technology developed in the lab might no longer be under control. Hopefully, this matter would attract the attention of the organization. Also, regarding the identity of the person who had destroyed the lab, at this point in the report, Little Black's pen paused. Holy shit, wait. This teenager with terrifying strength. What the F***K was his name again? Chapter 81. The rural-urban fringe of Songhai City to the border of Huaxiao Nation was at least hundreds of millions of kilometers away, and Wang Ling rarely used the great teleportation spell to travel such a long distance. But looking at the result, at least, his beloved crispy noodle snacks had been saved. Wang Ling returned to his desk and stared thoughtfully at the sun outside his bedroom skylight. Previously, he had been intentionally or unintentionally avoiding that Uncle Black's line of sight. As long as he didn't let Uncle Black see his face, Wang Ling could guarantee that the great shielding spell would continue to work. Fortunately, that coward hadn't dared to look at him at all, and had almost wet his pants under the pressure of this absolute power. Now Wang Ling could guarantee that that mysterious Uncle Black basically wouldn't dare cause trouble for him again, but Audiobook was still a big problem. Wang Ling sighed. He really had to think carefully about how to solve this problem, otherwise it would become a big problem sooner or later. But after some recent events, Wang Ling had also gained some inspiration. It was time to prepare a mask for himself. Because the great shielding spell could only be successfully activated if he could ensure that those who had designs on him didn't see his face. Otherwise, even if he used the great transfiguration spell to change his appearance, it would be useless. And wearing a mask was a pretty good way to protect himself. It wasn't that Wang Ling hadn't considered it before, but that he hadn't been willing to buy one. Because his pocket money was limited, Father Wang was like a dictatorial shopkeeper who only gave him a pitiful amount of pocket money every month. Furthermore, he would do everything in his power to embezzle it. 100 for breaking a spoon, 50 for breaking a chopstick. There were 15 students in the elite class that Wang Ling was in. If Wang Ling's exam results were in the top 8 of the class, 500 would be directly deducted. Based on the number of bowls, chopsticks, and spoons that Wang Ling had accidentally broken every month, as well as the furniture that he had smashed when he wasn't careful, Father Wang would often use all sorts of excuses to take away his pocket money before he could even keep it warm. Even the money he used to buy crispy noodle snacks had been saved up by Wang Ling, but it had only been 3 months since he had put on the new Dao Talisman seal, and its powerful power had also strengthened Wang Ling's restraints. For the time being, Father Wang wouldn't be able to find an excuse to embezzle Wang Ling's pocket money. Thus, these 3 months should be when Wang Ling's pocket money was the most. Wang Ling's idea was that he could just buy a random mask and wear it as long as it covered his face. But there were so many different kinds of masks online that it was hard for someone like Wang Ling, who had difficulty choosing. Although he had bought it casually, he didn't dare use a mask of poor quality. Otherwise, if he tried to catch his breath while wearing it, the mask might crack. After struggling for a long while, Wang Ling finally looked for his own mask based on the tags that other online buyers had left on the website. Wang Ling chose good and cheap, and most popular options, and in a split second, the number of items in the cultivation online shopping mall plummeted. Next, Wang Ling needed to use his 24K pure gold titanium laser eyes to pick out his own mask from this vast array of masks. There were pictures of the masks on the cultivation online shopping mall, and Wang Ling could use his heavenly eye to examine the materials used to make them. Ding dong. Just as his gaze swept over the masks in the shop, a private chat window suddenly popped up. Wang Ling opened it, and at the top of the window was the nickname, New Century Cultivation Mask Shop. It was very obvious that this shop had installed some kind of software that could automatically solicit customers through a private chat window when they browsed online. It was like a certain private hospital that had spent money on a bidding ranking online. As soon as they entered the website, they would start to send private chat windows, and then boast about how brilliant their medical skills were. In the end, they had spent money to treat a patient to death. Wang Ling was very disgusted with this kind of behavior. Just as he was about to close the window, the customer service staff quickly sent him a smiley face with a rose in its mouth and a string of text messages. "Fellow cultivator, please stay." Almost out of reflex, Wang Ling typed out a string of ellipses. Seeing Wang Ling's reply, the customer service staff was very enthusiastic and immediately replied, "I saw that fellow cultivator was looking for a mask. I can guarantee that the masks we sell are definitely the cheapest on the internet, and the quality is guaranteed. What kind of mask would this fellow cultivator like? We have everything you could ever want here." This text is typed and not an automatic reply. Please don't doubt our enthusiasm. Wang Ling was a little speechless. Before he could reply, the customer service staff sent another message. "I know that fellow cultivator is still conflicted, so let me give you a brief introduction of some of the masks that have been selling very well recently." Very quickly, the customer service staff sent him the first picture. It was a strange green mask with well-defined features. It didn't look ugly, and it also seemed to have a fluorescent effect. Wang Ling asked, "What is this? I wonder if fellow cultivator feels ashamed to face your lover's womanizing all over the place? How on earth do you find your first love? How on earth do you redeem your spouse's love?" Our company's latest green forgiving mask will help you restore your confidence and redeem your love from the root. Wang Ling, if fellow cultivator isn't satisfied, we still have the next one. After saying that, the customer service staff sent him another picture of the mask. This mask was silver all over, and the rest of it was very ordinary, except for the unusually sharp chin. I wonder if fellow cultivator is still afraid of walking alone at night? I wonder if fellow cultivator often works overtime until dawn? This Lu Baobao brand snake spirit male mask is made with the latest hyaluronic acid synthesis technology. Not only is it hydrating and beautifying, the mask's chin is also inlaid with black diamond alloy, which can be used as a weapon at a critical moment. For a long time Wang Ling didn't reply. The customer service staff sent Wang Ling a question mark. Fellow cultivator? Do you have any reliable ones that are only used to cover your face? This time it was finally the customer service staff's turn to send ellipses. Nowadays most masks had been developed by combining cultivation and scientific power, and were mostly functional masks. There were actually only a few in the entire cultivation online shopping market that didn't have any other functions and was only used to cover one's face. Of course it wasn't that there weren't any. But most of the non-functional masks had great ornamental value, so they were often sold at a high price. But Wang Ling's requirement was that they be of good quality and cheap. Obviously this caused a lot of trouble for the customer service staff. About 10 minutes later the customer service staff finally sent him another picture of the mask. It was a ghost mask that looked a little rough, and the eyes seemed to have been decorated with resin or something. It looked a little old, but overall it looked pretty good. Fellow cultivator, cheap face-blocking masks. To be honest, they're very hard to find, especially in the cultivation online shopping market. Our family doesn't have many in stock, and according to fellow cultivator's request, we found this good quality, cheap, and not too ugly mask. Wang Ling stared at the picture the customer service staff had sent him, and felt that this mask basically met his requirements. The most important thing was that Wang Ling had used his heavenly eye to see the material of the stone ghost mask. Although he hadn't actually touched the real thing, and wasn't too sure based on the picture alone, Wang Ling did indeed see primordial black crystal in the stone ghost mask. Chapter 82. So, had he hit the jackpot? In many cases, primordial black crystal fell from the sky along with meteors, and had a very special texture. It was very difficult for ordinary quality inspection methods to detect this substance. Furthermore, it was very easy for many material merchants to confuse primordial black crystal with ordinary black crystal. Take this stone ghost mask for example. Wang Ling had seen the quality inspection report from the customer service representative, which clearly stated that this stone ghost mask had been made from 75% high-grade black crystal and 25% elastic resin. But even though it was an ordinary mask with no function at all, and the merchant had no idea that it contained primordial black crystal, it still cost 600 HNY. Wang Ling knew that 600 HNY for a stone ghost mask made from primordial black crystal wasn't actually a loss. But considering his monthly allowance of 1000 HNY, it was still a little expensive in the end. Seeing that Wang Ling was still hesitating, the customer service representative sent him a vibrating window. Fellow cultivator, are you still there? Wang Ling replied with a question mark. Question mark. If you think the price isn't right, you can discuss it with us. We can definitely sell it at a lower price. Of course I won't tell you that this mask will bring you bad luck. Wang Ling. I dialed the wrong number, sorry. What I wanted to say is that it will bring you good luck. Who the F***K are you trying to fool? Can your acting be any more exaggerated? In the end, Wang Ling threatened the customer service representative with a bad service review, and the customer service representative finally told the truth. Back then we bought this stone ghost mask from a mask wholesaler. Our boss liked it very much because of its unique design. But ever since it was put on display in our shop's sales have plummeted. Our boss thinks that the shop's business has definitely been cursed by this stone ghost mask. Wang Ling stared at the stone ghost mask for a while. Apart from its unique design, he really didn't notice anything else wrong with it. But he would have to wait until he got his hands on it to know whether there was a problem or not. Actually, Wang Ling was a person who liked to have fun at heart. After all, being invincible was so lonely. Seeing that there was no news from Wang Ling, the customer service representative became anxious again. Fellow Taoist, the price is negotiable, name your price. Although Wang Ling was dubious about the curse of the stone ghost mask, He felt that it most likely wasn't false when he saw how anxious the customer service agent was to sell the mask. At the very least, he was sure that after the seller had bought the mask from the wholesaler, it had indeed caused a lot of trouble. After careful consideration, he sent a number to the customer service representative. The customer service girl was shocked to see a lone 5 in the chat window. Fellow Taoist, are you sure you didn't miss a 0? If it was 50 yuan, the customer service could understand. After all, it was a cursed mask. It was one thing to sell it cheaply, but what the hell? $5. You think you're King buying crispy noodle snacks? The customer service girl waited in front of the chat window for a full 5 minutes. Realizing that this stubborn and stingy customer still had no intention of changing his mind, she suddenly felt a little disheartened. Of course, Wang Ling didn't leave, and just sat there calmly with his arms crossed as he waited for the customer service girl's reply. He had learned this trick from Mother Wang, who had often used it to catch the hawkers off guard when she went shopping or bought groceries. At times like this, it was a competition of patience and mental endurance. After nearly 10 minutes of confrontation on the other side, the customer service girl finally gave in. Fine. $5 it is. May I trouble fellow Taoist to confirm the delivery address? In the end, to the customer service representative's surprise, Wang Ling fell silent again. The customer service girl sent Wang Ling a bawling emoji. Fellow Taoist, you're not going back on your word, are you? After a moment of silence, Wang Ling typed 4 words in the chat window. Remember to include shipping. Include shipping? Not only did it cost $5, it also included shipping. The customer service girl felt like her worldview had been refreshed. What kind of customer was this? Although the customer was God, this was the first time this customer service girl had seen such a stingy God. F***K. What a scam. The customer service girl thought indignantly in her heart. It was close to 5 o'clock in the evening on Saturday in the 3rd week of school. Wang Ling felt that he had done a lot today. He had made up for his missing knowledge, completed the homework he had missed, and in passing, destroyed an underground laboratory that had been plotting against him. After buying the mask online just now, Wang Ling felt that he had finally put one more thing off his mind. Now he just had to wait for that strange stone ghost mask to arrive with shipping from Xuanhuan. Days like this were indeed very fulfilling, but they always made Wang Ling feel very tired. On the other side, Father Wang and Lai Mengmeng were still in a small meeting, pitting their wits against each other as they worked out some details of the plot for their new book. On the other side, Mother Wang had also come to the 2nd floor and knocked on Wang Ling's door. Son, get ready. Change into some handsome clothes, we're going out to a restaurant tonight. Wang Ling. Going out to a restaurant? As far as Wang Ling knew, the Wang family rarely had the habit of going out to a restaurant. It was mostly because of Wang Ling. Father and Mother Wang were very worried that taking Wang Ling out to a restaurant would cause trouble for the restaurant, so the number of times the Wang family went out to eat all year round was comparable to the number of spring and autumn school outings. Generally, it was only on New Year's or Wang Ling's birthday that Father and Mother Wang would spend a lot of money to take Wang Ling out for a good meal. Usually, when they suddenly wanted to go out to a restaurant, Wang Ling knew that it was most likely some relative who had come. As it turned out, Wang Ling's hunch was right. About half an hour later, Wang Ling sensed with his spiritual senses that an old man was pedaling a tricycle toward the entrance of the Wang family's small villa, which had previously been deserted. The old man was a little chubby, and seemed to be struggling to ride the tricycle. He wore an old-fashioned black hat on his head, a black cotton jacket and a dark blue cotton robe. When he got off the tricycle, he was a little unsteady, and Wang Ling was afraid that he would fall if he wasn't careful. The old man was half squatting with his hands on his knees. Panting, he thumped his shoulders and loosened his muscles. Then he slowly went to the back of the tricycle, untied the rope and finally lifted the white cloth covering it. The tricycle was actually loaded full of apples. Mother Wang had been putting away clothes at the entrance of the villa, but when she saw the chubby figure appear at the door, she hurriedly went up to him. "Oh my dad. Why did you come here on a tricycle? You should have called me. I'll have Wang Jiao pick you up." Grandfather Wang rubbed his head. "Wang Jiao? Who's Wang Jiao?" "Wang Jiao is your son," Mother Wang sighed in her heart. The old man's dementia came out of nowhere, and it was really getting harder and harder to guard against him. "Right. My son." Grandfather Wang patted his head and pointed to the apples behind him. "Don't I have a grandson called Jinka? Well, I brought this cart of oranges for my grandson. Remember to put them away." Mother Wang. Chapter 83. As soon as old man Wang entered the villa, he went to look for the toilet. He had ridden his little tricycle all the way here and was really suffocating. The old man was close to 70 years old, but he was still in good health. Apart from his worsening dementia, all his other bodily functions were normal after a formal physical examination at the cultivation hospital. But although they had severe dementia, Father and Mother Wang definitely weren't worried that the old man would lose them, because Wang Ling had blessed the old man's little tricycle with the ability to automatically lead the way. And most importantly, it didn't take the old man any effort to ride it. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the old man to ride all the way here from the suburbs of a neighboring city. Hearing that the old man was here, Father Wang hurriedly finished what he was doing. In the Wang family, apart from Mother Wang and Wang Ling in a rage, the old man was the only person who could inspire awe in Father Wang. Wang Ling remembered that when his grandmother had still been alive, Father Wang had actually been more afraid of her. Unfortunately, she had passed away before Wang Ling was born. It was said that she had a terminal illness. At that time, Father Wang had been heartbroken for a long time. Until Wang Ling was born, Father Wang had constantly fantasized that if Wang Ling had been born a few years earlier, perhaps she wouldn't have died. Unfortunately, there were no ifs in life, and every day was a live broadcast. Old man Wang's dementia had also been diagnosed when Wang Ling's grandmother had passed away. When he was young, old man Wang had been a dissolute person who owed a lot of romantic debts. Among them, his first wife had been the one he loved the most. So Wang Ling's grandmother's passing had been a huge blow to the old man. In the living room, Father Wang lit a cigarette. "Have you made a reservation for tonight's restaurant?" Mother Wang nodded. "We've already made a reservation at Kikata Floor. It was originally going to be at Master Chef's little store, but the owner has been busy recently. And I heard that the price of egg fried rice has gone up again. It used to be 288 yuan, but now it's actually 988 yuan. This is daylight robbery." Wang Ling knew that there was a place called Master Chef's little store that had been very popular recently. With just a bowl of egg fried rice, this little-known little store had attracted countless heavyweight customers, and food experts from all over the world were scrambling to promote it. Wang Ling felt that this kind of boss was very suspicious. He was either an old senior in the cultivation world or a big shot who had traveled through time. If he wasn't, then it was very likely that he carried some kind of system with him and received the power of the system. The subject of portable systems wasn't new, and Wang Ling knew that Wang Ming had been working on it for the last few years. Currently, he had already invented a number of portable systems and was conducting secret experiments in various locations. Forget it, Kikaro is not bad either. Father Wang glanced at the small tricycle parked in the back garden. "Why are there so many apples?" "Dad brought it." He remembered that Ling Ling liked oranges when he was little, but unfortunately he brought the wrong one. Father Wang covered his face and sighed in his heart. Dad's dementia is really getting worse. And it seemed that his constipation was a little serious. He went into the toilet for a long time and didn't come out. Wang Ling felt very helpless about this. Given his current ability, he could easily wipe out the cancer cells in his body, but he couldn't cure a neurological disease like Alzheimer's. Moreover, old man Wang's dementia was very complicated. It was completely caused by his mental illness. If it was a problem with his body's functions, Wang Ling could directly treat it. When it came to orthopedics in particular, Wang Ling's treatment methods were superb, and after several years of development, he had already completely surpassed German orthopedics. Not long after, there was the sound of a toilet flushing, and the old man came out unhurriedly. When he came to the living room, the old man grasped Wang Ling's hand and looked at him strangely. "Jiao, it's only been a few months since I last saw you. How come you've become so much younger? Did you secretly eat a youth-retaining pill again? There's a preservative in that thing." "Father Wang, Dad. I'm your son." Old man Wang was dazed for a moment, then patted his head. "Oh, right. You're my son. Then this kid, is Jinka? Where's our Ling Ling?" Old man Wang was a very mischievous person. When Wang Ling had come in earlier, his dementia had indeed flared up. But now Wang Ling could tell at a glance that the old man was faking it. This trick could fool Father Wang and Mother Wang, but it couldn't fool Wang Ling. Seeing the look in Wang Ling's eyes, Father and Mother Wang immediately understood. "Dad, you're already so old, but you still like to joke." Seeing that his trick had been seen through, the old man chuckled. "In the end, our Ling Ling is still the best. By the way, what are we going to do tonight?" "Dad, we're going to a restaurant. We've already made reservations. We've been waiting for you." No, what restaurant? It's expensive." Do we have food at home? Old Man Wang asked. Yes, that's good enough. The old man took off his black cloth cap to reveal his big bald head and rolled up his sleeves. None of you move tonight, let me show you what I can do. Dad, I think you shouldn't waste your energy. What if your dementia flares up again while you're cooking? What does dementia have to do with me cooking? Even if I forget all of you, I won't forget how to cook, the old man said angrily. When it came to cooking, Old Man Wang was unusually stubborn. That was because before he retired, he had been a chef in a star-rated cultivation hotel for more than 40 years. Even if the old man cooked 3 meals a day for 365 days, as long as he had enough ingredients, there wouldn't be any repetition of the dishes. The old man was an extraordinary person. Back when he had been all-powerful in the culinary world, he had taken in many disciples, big and small. He had followed the theory of happy cooking, which had been taught to him by his shifu. As for who the shifu was, even Wang Ling didn't know. Because the old man was suffering from dementia, his memories of the past were a lot messed up, and even a memory search might not be able to find any useful clues. On the other hand, a forced search might worsen the old man's dementia. After all, the target was his own grandfather. Even if Wang Ling was very curious, he wasn't that nosy. None of you moved today. I'm old and my brain isn't working well, but my body is still strong. My good grandson has participated in 4 days of activities. Look how thin he's become. The old man stared at Wang Ling and smiled, then skillfully took off the apron that Mother Wang had hung behind the kitchen door and tied it around his waist. Dad, do you need help? Find me the oil, salt, sauces and whatnot, and help me see what we have in the house. There's spinach and carrots in the fridge and some pork. I saw bananas on the living room table, we can make a fruit platter later. Back then, my angry bananas were the best. The old man opened the fridge and his eyes lit up. Pig ears? Not bad, braised pig ears and sauce. Chapter 84. After his retirement, Old Man Wang had rented out a piece of farmland and vowed to devote his life to researching new varieties of vegetables for the sake of the common people. Unfortunately, because of Alzheimer's, the results of his research were forgotten again and again. Later, Old Man Wang recognized reality and gave up on his dream of growing some simple fruits and vegetables. Almost every month, he would send some to the Wang family's small villa. When he heard that his good grandson was participating in a neighboring school activity, Grandfather Wang had immediately picked oranges, which Wang Ling had loved to eat as a child, and had immediately come. But in the end, he had still made a mistake while moving the oranges onto the little 3-wheeled motorcycle. At dinner, the old man showed off his skills as a star chef for many years. Appetizers: cold old tomatoes, Eliza sweet potatoes; main course: pure black battle chicken, braised pig ears and soy sauce; honey wax melon soup; dessert: angry bananas. When the old man announced the list of dishes with a straight face, Wang Ling was basically sure who the old man's shifu was. Even if it wasn't Mother Wan, there was definitely something going on with her. In the past, when the old man came to the Wang family, he would usually leave early the next morning on his little tricycle. But this time, Father Wang insisted that the old man stay for a few more days at dinner. The reason was very simple. The old man's Alzheimer's had already reached a point where he had to be treated. When the old man was cooking, he had actually forgotten to add salt. This time, even the old man was thoroughly vexed. He had said before that even if he forgot everyone else, he wouldn't forget how to cook. In the end, he hadn't expected that he would kill himself with one mouthful. It was very clear that the old man's Alzheimer's was beyond cure. Last month, Father Wang had actually taken the old man to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor had said that the old man's Alzheimer's was very special and couldn't be treated with medicine alone. Mental illness needed mental medicine to treat it. So this time, Father Wang had Old Man Wang stay, intending to find a skilled psychiatrist to give him a thorough psychological counseling. Then, on Sunday morning the next day, another person came to the Wang family's small villa. Lai Mengmeng. Facing Old Man Wang, Lai Mengmeng took a deep breath, his frail body trembling a little as he gave Father Wang a deep look. Is this the life event you were talking about? Didn't you study psychology at university? You're even a postgraduate student under Professor Jiang, said Father Wang. But I haven't shown it to anyone in a long time. Lai Mengmeng was a little innocent. There were a lot of psychologists on the market now, but most of them were part-time. This was because in the cultivation era, this job not only did not have enough to eat, but it was also a high-risk job. There had been many psychiatrists who were hacked to death by patients who shouted that they were not sick. Thus, after Lai Mingming graduated from university, he switched to becoming an. At least this job didn't require him to show his face often. He could earn money just by sitting there like a prostitute. On the side, Mother Wang tried to smooth things over. How about, just forget it? This is too difficult for little Song. Father Wang turned his head away shamelessly. I don't care. Today you have to watch it even if you don't want to. Otherwise, I'll stop updating. Stand down. No. Lai Mingming was on the verge of tears, his eyes filled with tears. I see. I don't think so. Nowadays there were plenty of authors who hugged the thighs of S, but this was the first time he had seen someone threaten him with updates and stand down. Lai Mingming wanted to cry but had no tears. If this Guru Wang Sita left in anger, he would lose his job. Although Lai Mingming had retired from the psychological world for many years, he still had some understanding of the concept of Alzheimer's disease. However, Grandfather Wang's Alzheimer's disease, which was caused by a mental illness, was rather special. After thinking about it, Lai Mingming decided to ask a few questions first to determine the extent of Grandfather Wang's dementia. My name is Song Zikai. Grandfather Wang, you can call me Little Song, Lai Mingming said as he looked at the old man. The old man didn't know who Lai Mingming was, but he knew that this was the psychiatrist Father Wang had hired for him. He was still a little nervous, and his hands couldn't help trembling when he heard someone as soft and cute as Lai Mingming speak. Grandfather Wang, don't be nervous. I'll ask you a simple question. The old man's heart skipped a beat. That. Little Song, can I ask you a question first? Ask away, Grandfather Wang. Lai Mingming nodded. Grandfather Wang, they all say that my Alzheimer's disease is very serious, is that true? Lai Mingming, I won't know until I ask. Grandfather Wang, I still have one question. Lai Mingming, Grandfather Wang said, Grandfather Wang, they all say that my Alzheimer's disease is very serious, is that true? Lai Mingming, Father Wang and Mother Wang, fine. There was no need to ask, this wasn't serious at all, it was King incurable. Upstairs, Wang Ling couldn't help covering his face as he heaved a deep sigh in his heart. He felt that before Grandfather Wang could be cured, Lai Mingming might go crazy first. In the end, Father Wang kept Lai Mingming there until Grandfather Wang's lunch, which he hadn't added any salt to before he left. Before he left, the old man walked Lai Mingming to the door and gripped his hand tightly. I've really troubled you, Dr. Song? Don't mention it, old man. During the meal, the old man kept asking the same question over and over again, and Lai Mingming still hadn't recovered from it. How's my dad? Father Wang pulled Lai Mingming aside and asked. I made some simple notes just now. Grandfather Wang's Alzheimer's disease is more complicated, and there are still some details that I need to confirm with my teacher. Lai Mingming's words were very vague. Since graduating from university, apart from sending a group text to Professor Jiang on holidays, it had actually been a very long time since they had seen each other. Who knew if Professor Jiang still remembered him as a student? Then I'll really have to trouble you, Father Wang said. If you want to thank me, hurry up and update more. Lai Mingming rolled his eyes and said unhappily. The Wang family's small villa seemed to be particularly busy today. As soon as Lai Mingming left, a man in a black suit came to the entrance of the villa with a serious expression on his face and a small box in his hands. It was someone from Xuanhuan God Express. Wang Ling had sensed the courier's presence from afar, and had been waiting at the door since early on. Seeing that the recipient had arrived, the man immediately presented the package to Wang Ling with both hands and then bowed in salute. Xuanhuan God Express. Mission accomplished. Please give me a 5-star rating, sir. Wang Ling lowered his head and silently signed his name. The man took out a rating device from his suit pocket. Based on sir's consumer preferences, if you give me a 5-star rating, you will immediately receive 10 packets of Little Raccoon Crispy Noodle snacks. Chapter 85. Not long after the courier left, a black sedan slowly drove past the entrance of the Wang family's small villa. A man sat in the front passenger seat of the car, holding a single-lens reflex camera in his hand. He quickly took pictures of the Wang family's small villa from multiple angles. Then he turned on his wristwatch and dialed a number. Lord, based on our tracking of the Xuanhuan God courier today, we finally found the delivery address for the stone ghost mask. Why did it take so long? A low voice sounded on the other end of the line, sounding a little dissatisfied. It's mainly because this family lives too far away. They're the only family in the vicinity of the outskirts of Shanghai City. They're the only family in the vicinity? Yes, Lord. I think that even if we send someone in to take it by force. This is a society ruled by law, understand? The world is so beautiful, why must it be so violent? The voice chuckled. Buying a house in the suburbs in this day and age most likely means that their family isn't very well off. Have you investigated this family's background? Not yet, but our technicians have already secretly infiltrated the local cultivation police station to investigate their household registration. I'm sure we'll find some clues very soon, the man replied. How about this, we'll send someone to negotiate with them tomorrow. Don't be so violent when you can solve things with money, understand? Your lordship is truly benevolent. I never thought we would still be a step too late in the end. If we had been able to buy the stone ghost mask from that shop earlier, there wouldn't have been so much trouble. The voice on the other end of the line couldn't help sighing. Also, remember to keep an eye on them. The stone ghost mask is very important to us, and it can't fall into the hands of outsiders. It's best to hand it over to us. My lord, if I may be so bold, I have a question. Is it because you're worried about the stone ghost mask's curse? That's just one aspect. The voice sounded a little sad. It's true that the stone ghost mask's curse will bring people bad luck. But the truly frightening thing is that the stone ghost mask nurtures the power of the god of darkness, Devil Emperor Guapai. If an ordinary person puts on the mask, it's very likely that they'll be forced to sign a contract with it in a short period of time. In the end, they'll enter the form of a super ghost and gain uncontrollable power. According to the information we currently have, the way the stone ghost mask signs a contract is very simple and crude. Once someone puts it on, the two hooks on both sides will pierce their cheeks, thus completing the contract. Isn't that family in danger? The stone ghost mask also has its own requirements for choosing its master. He doesn't have much interest in the old, the weak, the sick, and the disabled. He only loves young bodies. Hearing the castle lord's reply, the man was startled. He remembered that the person who came out to receive the delivery seemed to be a student. The last question, Castle Lord. Then may I ask, if the stone ghost mask has already signed a contract before tomorrow, what should we do? On the other end of the line, the voice deepened. Then we'll have to kill him before he officially enters his supreme ghost form. And then forcibly take the stone ghost mask away. It was the only way I could think of. Tomorrow, before entering the house, carefully observe the two sides of the family's cheeks to see if there are any stings from the stone ghost mask. I understand. The man nodded solemnly and hung up the phone. It wasn't that Wang Ling didn't have experience with online shopping, and he had long heard of Xuanhuan God Express's reputation. This express delivery company, which claimed that each delivery time was less than 24 hours, enjoyed an extremely high reputation in the entire cultivation world. Fast delivery, safety of goods, and the highest level of service were the company's principles. Returning to his small room with the delivery, Wang Ling stared at the 10 packets of crispy noodle snacks on the table, lost in deep thought. No wonder Xuanhuan God Express's positive ratings had always been the highest in the industry. Who could resist this kind of temptation? Wang Ling couldn't wait to open the delivery. The inside of the paper box was wrapped in layers of plastic foam, which was not only shock-absorbent but also waterproof. The stone ghost mask, which looked a little old, was wrapped in a plastic envelope and lying quietly in the mold inside the paper box. This cursed stone ghost mask, which had scared the seller so much that he was eager to sell it, looked a little sinister. It was a mask with a horror theme, with a fang at each corner of the mouth and long hooks like claws on the left and right sides of the mask. At first glance, it looked a little like a crab. The eyes were made of synthetic resin and plated with a red film, which was slightly reflective in the light. Wang Ling turned off the lights and realized that the eyes of the mask actually had a fluorescent effect. Observing it up close, Wang Ling could see details that couldn't be captured in online photos. There were some fine cracks on the mask which definitely weren't caused by wear and tear. Wang Ling's initial guess was that when the mask had been made, the seller hadn't known that it was made of primordial black crystal. It was inevitable that a mask made from a high-grade material with inferior craftsmanship would have some structural cracks after it was finished. Fortunately, the cracks weren't that serious and were only a little bit. Furthermore, these cracks couldn't be captured in online photos at all, and couldn't be detected without careful observation with the naked eye. After all, this was a mask that cost 5 yuan and included free shipping. When it had been delivered, it had even included 10 packets of crispy noodle snacks. Wang Ling felt that if he gave the seller a bad review for such a small reason, he would be too inhumane. Wang Ling had the habit of reviewing goods after they had been purchased online. After confirming the receipt of the goods and giving the seller a 5-star review, he wrote down his own review. But just as he was writing his review, the customer service girl from New Century Cultivation Mask Shop sent him a private message. It seems that fellow cultivator has successfully received the goods. Thank you for your 5-star review. Wang Ling initially thought that this was probably an automatic reply, but he hadn't expected the customer service girl to send him a second message. Someone called us yesterday and said that the express package might have been lost, which really scared us. Someone called to inquire? Looking at the chat window, Wang Ling was a little dazed. He hadn't called at all. Was this a coincidence or was someone investigating him? Wang Ling cupped his chin and pondered deeply. However, he didn't ask for too many details. In the worst-case scenario, Wang Ling felt that since someone had been able to check his online shopping records, it was possible that they were monitoring his chat window with the customer service girl. Wang Ling stared at the stone ghost mask and raised his eyebrows. Could it be that he had gotten himself into some kind of trouble? Standing in front of the mirror, Wang Ling put the stone ghost mask on his face and felt it carefully. 3 minutes later, Wang Ling took off the stone ghost mask. After a preliminary appraisal, this mask didn't seem to be F***king useful. But given the seller's legend of the curse, Wang Ling felt that it wasn't a bad idea to keep the mask by his side for observation. Son, come down for dinner. At that moment, Mother Wang's shout came from downstairs. Wang Ling nodded and casually put the stone ghost mask on the desk. Bang! The door was closed and the stone ghost mask on the desk suddenly shook, the hooks on both sides shaking uncontrollably. It had been so many years, but this was the first time the stone ghost mask had encountered such a thick-skinned person. F***ck. Chapter 86. On the morning of May 18th, the 4th week of school, Wang Ling changed into his school uniform. After washing up and tidying up his appearance, he was ready to go out. When he reached the entrance and opened the door, he saw the old man sitting alone in the courtyard of the Wang family's small villa, obediently absorbing the light of the dawn sun like a young sapling crying piteously for food. When one reached old age, the amount of time they spent sleeping would inevitably shorten. Wang Ling had cast a soothing spell on the old man last night, but in the end he still hadn't been able to suppress the old man's biological clock. Seeing Wang Ling come out, the old man sitting at the door was dazed for a moment before he handed Wang Ling 2 lunchboxes full of food. These are sweet and sour spare ribs and stir-fried squid with soy sauce. Wang Ling was startled. They were actually normal home-cooked dishes. Wang Ling touched the warm lunchboxes. Although he didn't know if the old man had added salt to the food this time, he still couldn't help feeling moved. Just as he was about to say something, the old man pursed his lips and spoke again. I've been waiting at the door for a long time, but my grandson hasn't come out. You must be Jinka. Hurry up and bring this food to my grandson. Wang Ling, after 3 whole weeks of school, the atmosphere in the class was clearly a lot better than it had been at the start of the semester. The commissary in charge of studies, Little Peanut, began to collect homework one by one. His real name was Su Xiao. There was someone in class who would deliberately write Su Xiao as Su Xiao on the roster on the blackboard. This was Su Xiao's first nickname after entering the elite class of grade 1, class 3 of number 60 high school. Like his name, Su Xiao was very small. After all, as a boy he was only 1.64 meters tall, which was quite a pain in the ass just thinking about it. But it had to be said that Su Xiao had a very good personality. He was cute and fair, and not only did the teachers like him, he was also quite popular in class. After the people in the class became familiar with Su Xiao, they gave Su Xiao a cute nickname, Little Peanut. Collecting homework was a technical job. In the first 2 weeks of school, homework would always be collected the fastest, and students would always be quiet and serious in class. But after 2 weeks, all kinds of problems would start to surface. This was the so-called curse of the first 2 weeks of school. Furthermore, even the elite students of number 60 high might not be able to handle this curse. Wang Ling had divided grade 1, class 3 that morning into 4 major parties. First, the calm and composed scholarly tyrant party. He was referring to Lotus Sun, Feather Lin, and Li Xianjing. He completed his homework ahead of time and prepared his lessons in advance. He did not panic at all. Second, the moderate normies. Wang Ling felt that he belonged to this party. Thirdly, only be an idiot. This faction was most commonly seen in normal classes and remedial classes. Although similar situations occasionally occurred in elite classes, it was still very rare. Fourthly, we must wipe out the entire party with extreme haste. The first to bear the brunt of this party's attack were Super Chin and Heroicjourney, these two fat gaming nerds. Furthermore, the members of this party gave Little Peanut a headache. "You two, I'll give you 5 more minutes at most," Little Peanut said a little helplessly as he stood in front of them. Based on past times, Teacher Pan would arrive in class on time to supervise the morning self-study period in 5 minutes at most. Looking at his wristwatch, Little Peanut estimated Super Chin and Heroicjourney's current progress in copying homework, and sighed in his heart. Collecting homework was a technical job and copying homework was even more so. Looking at the time, Super Chin decided to speed up. He took out another pen from his pencil case and actually started to write with both hands. It's actually the legendary flow of 2 pens. Everyone in class was stupefied. This was a godly skill that had been circulating in school, and was a spell that a mysterious senior sister had developed based on General Yi's flow of 2 pens. The flow of 2 pens spell used both hands to copy at the same time, which greatly increased the speed of copying. But it also had 2 weaknesses. First, the handwriting was always crooked when it wasn't used to. Second, one needed to pay special attention when copying. Little Peanut leaned forward and looked curiously at Super Chen's workbook, and his pupils couldn't help contracting. F***K. This handwriting was too neat and beautiful. This wasn't copying homework at all, it was completely printing. Little Peanut had never expected that there would be an expert in the flow of 2 pens in class. Seeing this, Wang Ling also blushed with shame. It was very obvious that this skill had already been maxed out by Super Chen. It was completely impossible to achieve this level of proficiency without more than 10 years of accumulated cultivation. I never thought that there would be someone by my side who has mastered the flow of 2 pens technique. Master of Dopey narrowed his eyes as he looked at Super Chen. Under everyone's stupefied gazes, Dopey swiftly took out a pen from his pencil case and started to copy the homework. Flow of 2 pens again. Everyone in class was horrified. But now there were only 3 minutes left. Ding-ling-ling. The bell for the morning self-study period had already rung. Little Peanut looked nervously back outside the classroom. It was as if he could already hear Teacher Pan's footsteps as she walked out of the office and approached the classroom step by step. No, at this rate it was already too late. In the classroom, the students around him couldn't help shaking their heads. Super Chen concentrated his mental strength and continued to write with both hands as he wrote vigorously. Suddenly he roared, "Now isn't the time to give up." At that moment, Super Chen sped up again. It was as if everyone could hear the sound of Super Chen's hot blood hitting his muscles. The students in class couldn't help their blood boiling. Wang Ling was a little speechless. To be so hot-blooded even when copying homework, there was really no one else like him. With 2 minutes left, Super Chen had already entered the final stage, and his copying speed was almost on par with Master of Dopey Heroicjourney's. But at that moment, Super Chen actually took out another pen from his pencil case and held it in his mouth. Instantly, there were countless exclamations in the class. F***K. Flow of 3 pens. The increase in speed from the flow of 3 pens was obvious. But it was very obvious that although Super Chen had mastered this technique, the words he had written with his lip muscles were much less recognizable than before. But the words could still be seen clearly. As the commissary in charge of studies, Little Peanut's jaw had already dropped. On the other side, seeing that Super Chen was already in the final sprint, Master of Dopey actually stopped copying. Had he already given up? Wang Ling narrowed his eyes and propped his head up with one hand as he swept his gaze over the battle between the 2 men in front of him. Master of Dopey smiled devilishly and directly took out 2 pens from his pencil case. Then, he silently stuck them into his nostrils. On this day, all the boys and girls in Grade 1 Class 3 who saw this scene completely knelt on the spot. P.S. I saw a lot of book friends ridiculing Wang Ling's character design. It was drawn by a friend of mine. Although it might not be satisfactory and it might lack some details and charm, it's already done its best. Ku Xianjun has already hired a professional cartoonist to customize the official character design of our great god Wang Ling. Please look forward to it. Chapter 87. When the bell officially rang for the morning self-study period, Teacher Pan once again lived up to expectations and arrived at the classroom on time. Little Peanut had already collected the homework and arranged them neatly on the lectern according to their subjects, waiting for Teacher Pan to look over them. Having been a teacher in charge for so many years, Teacher Pan's eyes were like a scanner. She could tell at a glance how much homework had been collected and how many had been collected based on the thickness of the stack, even if it was only 15 exam papers. Sweeping her gaze over the homework on the lectern, Teacher Pan nodded with satisfaction. Very good. I've told the teachers in our office again and again that our class leaders are very responsible children. I'm very relieved to hand over the responsibility of supervising our studies to student Su Xiao. Since the start of the semester, he has collected all the homework on time. I hope that the representatives of each subject can set an example, and we'll work hard to keep it up. Hearing Teacher Pan praise him like this, Little Peanut lowered his head in shame. As the commissary in charge of studies, it wasn't right to condone students who hadn't finished their homework on time to copy homework early in the morning. But Little Peanut was well aware that society had its own rules of survival, and schools also had their own rules of survival. Just like a student who snitched on a teacher would definitely be hated, Little Peanut felt like he was caught in a dilemma, and his heart was extremely conflicted. Similarly, how could he remind his classmates to finish their homework on time without being hated? This was the path that Little Peanut had been trying his best to explore in his career as a class leader. It could only be said that on this broad road to society, the bricks on the road were like the skin on a person's face. Compared with Master of Dopey and Super Chin, Little Peanut was still lacking in maturity. Even Teacher Pan couldn't have imagined that a minute before she had stepped into the classroom, these two men had still been fighting fiercely on the battlefield of copying homework. But now, with a turn of his head, all of them were sitting there obediently as if nothing had happened. However, the sharp Teacher Pan still seemed to sense something, and she suddenly gave Master of Dopey a strange look. Student Hero Gua, what's wrong with your nose? Everyone in class turned their heads to look and saw two streams of dark red blood flowing down Master of Dopey's nostrils. Everyone was well aware of this. It was obvious that this was the after effect of using the flow of 4 pens. The difficulty of this skill was still too high. If one used too much force, it was very easy to puncture the mucous membranes of the nose. Master of Dopey calmly took out a tissue to wipe the blood from his nose, then looked at Teacher Pan with an aggrieved expression. Teacher, I fell behind in my homework at the Spirit Sword Exchange meet. This is probably an internal injury caused by studying through the night for a few days. Everyone. They had never seen such a shameless person before. The most amazing thing was that Teacher Pan actually believed it. Everyone should learn from student Hero Gua. He's a good role model and comrade for our class. Sitting in the back, Wang Ling suddenly sighed in his heart. A tree without its bark will surely die, a man without his face is invincible. The official textbook of talismans had a total of 12 lessons. But it was already the 6th lesson of the Tao Talismans lesson. It was only the 4th week of the semester, and Teacher Pan was already halfway through teaching. This was Teacher Pan's personal, speedy teaching style. At this rate, she would be able to cover an entire textbook by the 8th week of the semester. As for the rest of the time, she would use the tactic of piling on questions to crazily stir-fry cold rice. Teacher Pan felt that this was the best way to consolidate the students' basic knowledge. In the past 4 weeks, Teacher Pan had mainly explained the classification of Tao Talisman's functions, basic usage, basic drawing, and combination. The most difficult part of this was the combination in the 4th week, which was to rationally break down and combine runes within a range of many items. From Wang Ling's understanding, this was a little like factorization in mathematics. The most painful part was the usage and calculation of Tao Talismans, which required memorization of many formulas, so writing from memory was the highlight. However, Teacher Pan unexpectedly didn't write from memory during this morning's self-study period. Instead, she used this time to say the following 2 things. Everyone knows about the student exchange meet not long ago. We held it very successfully. The 5 students we sent set a very good example for number 59 high school, and won a hard-won victory for our number 60 high school in the final Spirit Sword Exchange meet. When Teacher Pan said this, there was a lot of chatter from the audience. Wang Ling and the others' glorious exploits at number 59 high school had long since spread throughout number 60 high school, especially the live broadcast of the last Spirit Sword Exchange meet. Everyone here had seen the live video of it. Everyone here had watched the live broadcast of that final Spirit Sword Exchange meet, and it hadn't been hard-won at all, but a complete one-sided victory. Teacher Pan was only saying this to express her modesty. Our number 60 high school has been working hard to become a key city high school for 100 years. Now, we finally have this opportunity to become a candidate for this year's key city high school. Next week, Secretary Da Kong of the Alliance of 10,000 Schools will send a task force to visit our school. I hope that in the next few weeks, students will maintain their learning attitudes and correct their learning ethos. When Teacher Pan said this, most of the people in class already understood. It was clear that they were going to have some tough days ahead of them. This kind of inspection team, which was directly dispatched by the higher-ups of the education department, was no less powerful than the Central Inspection Department of the Anti-Corruption Bureau. Recently, teachers in other classes have already noticed that some students wake up early in the morning and go to school to copy homework. When Teacher Pan said this, Super Chin and Heroicjourney couldn't help shrinking their necks as they inexplicably felt a chill. But I believe that the students of our elite class, especially under the leadership of the class cadre, would never do such an evil thing. Wang Ling. Little Peanut covered his face with both hands and lowered his head in shame once again. Then, apart from the above, there's another more important issue, Teacher Pan said. It said that one of the leaders from the task force was bitten by a dog when he was a child, and is very afraid of dogs. Wang Ling could almost guess what Teacher Pan was going to say next. So, after some discussion, Headmaster Chen and Director Shi came to me. In order to cooperate with the school's work, during the task force's visit, is there any student who can volunteer to take Loopy Toad home and adopt it for a while? Everyone's expressions froze. What the hell? So, keeping a dog was forbidden? Chapter 88. Wang Ling didn't think this was a good thing. It wouldn't be a big deal if Loopy Toad was just an ordinary family dog, but it was essentially a demon king. Although it wasn't as strong as before, it was still dangerous. Wang Ling could clearly sense that Loopy Toad's aura was a lot stronger after 4 weeks of school. This was enough to prove that Loopy Toad hadn't given up on its toad life, and was still working hard to adapt to its current body. Furthermore, it was trying to cultivate again. Number 60 High School had been calm during the Spirit Sword exchange meet, and Loopy Toad hadn't taken advantage of Wang Ling's absence to cause any mischief. Day after day, it lived its life after being reborn, learning to be a dog, having its face pinched by the students, and being teased by Dopey the parrot. Loopy Toad was actually very popular at number 60 High School. A green Akita was really eye-catching. It wasn't just in grade 1, class 3, Loopy Toad's reputation was also very resounding in other classes. Every day, students from neighboring classes or even higher grades would bring it food. Dog biscuits, bone sticks with soy sauce, beef and so on. During this period, Loopy Toad learned a lot of things. For example, Loopy Toad was barking more skillfully than before, and even the way it gnawed on a bone with soy sauce was a lot more standard than before. From all aspects, it could be seen that Loopy Toad was doing its best to cast off its previous identity and was trying to integrate into the collective life of number 60 High School, striving to become a reborn dog god. However, being able to gain other people's trust didn't mean it could also gain Wang Ling's. In Wang Ling's view, as a loyal dog, Loopy Toad still lacked some training. No matter who took it home, Wang Ling wouldn't feel at ease. The discussion in class was more heated. Apart from 4 students who said that they couldn't have dogs at home, the remaining 11 students in grade 1, class 3 all expressed a strong desire to have a dog. According to Master of Dopey, they still had to find a professional to raise a dog. Of course, Wang Ling didn't doubt this masochist's professionalism. If Loopy Toad was given to Master of Dopey to raise, Wang Ling would feel more at ease. Because Dopey the parrot wasn't an ordinary bird. This was a bird that could even train its owner. Wang Ling guessed that if Loopy Toad was sent to Heroicjourney's house, it would probably be great. When it came time to make the final decision, Teacher Pan Xingtsong realized that in the end, he had still underestimated Loopy Toad's influence in the students' hearts. Looking at the intense discussion in class, Teacher Pan cleared her throat and said, "How about this, let Loopy Toad choose for itself." After all, Loopy Toad wasn't an ordinary dog, and it was at this point that the value of its intelligence showed itself. Hearing Teacher Pan's words, Loopy Toad stood up excitedly. After being cooped up in school for so long, he finally had the chance to go out and have a look. A world of sensual pleasures with cute girls with big breasts and even fatter, houseflies. The flies in number 60 High's area were thin and small. Loopy Toad had long wanted to explore other places. But very quickly the excitement on Loopy Toad's face was extinguished by Wang Ling's gaze. Loopy Toad had seen this expression before. Almost instantly, it evoked fear in the depths of Loopy Toad's soul. Legend had it that during the assessment at the start of the semester, Wang Ling's murderous gaze. In the end, Loopy Toad came to Wang Ling's feet dejectedly, pressed its ears and obediently lay down. He did not dare to resist or act rashly. And very tactful, Wang Ling nodded in satisfaction. After school, Wang Ling found a secluded corner and directly teleported back to the Wang family's small villa in the suburbs with Loopy Toad in his arms. Loopy Toad was startled. The hell? What was this? Teleportation? One of the 3,000 great spells, the Great Teleportation Spell? As a reborn demon king, Loopy Toad still had these basic concepts. The so-called 3,000 great spells were innumerable. All the so-called 3,000 great spells led to heavenly Tao. It was said in ancient times that among the 3,000 great spells, it took 100 years to comprehend one, 1,000 years to cultivate one, and 10,000 years to complete one. A 16-year-old youngster actually knew the 3,000 great spells. Loopy Toad felt that its 1,000 years of cultivation as a demon king had all gone down the drain. As a toad that had personally experienced Wang Ling's abilities 6 years ago, there was probably no one in the world who was more familiar with how terrifying he was than Loopy Toad. At just 10 years old, Wang Ling had used just one punch to kill Loopy Toad, an all-powerful 1,000-year demon king in the gate between worlds. And 6 years later, Wang Ling had clearly become even more powerful. At this thought, Loopy Toad couldn't help feeling a little sad. As a demon king, its self-esteem had told it countless times that it had to forge ahead, that it had to work hard, that there might still be a chance to salvage its life. But when it faced Wang Ling, Loopy Toad always felt powerless. What was even more frightening was that when Wang Ling held it in his arms, the thought, "Why don't I just submit?" actually flashed through its mind. Loopy Toad covered its face, feeling that its moral integrity as a demon king had already been completely obliterated. When he opened the door, Wang Ling saw two unfamiliar men in suits and sunglasses carrying a suitcase in their hands. Wang Ling glanced at them and used his X-ray vision to see that the suitcase was actually filled with stacks of cash, which amounted to at least 1,000,000 yuan. Standing at the entrance, Father Wang solemnly saw the two men in suits off without a smile on his face. "Take care, I won't see you out." Seeing this scene, Wang Ling knew that the negotiations were probably over. The two men in suits looked at Wang Ling. This is my son," said Father Wang. "Your son looks so much like you." Wang Ling. Hearing this, the corners of Father Wang's mouth twitched violently. "Damn it, not me but you." Wang Ling knew that the men in suits were trying to worm their way into his good graces, and sure enough, one of them held out his hand to Wang Ling. "Hello, handsome, I'm from Landscape Manor." Landscape Manor? Wang Ling thought about it carefully, and suddenly remembered where he had heard this name before. It seemed that it often appeared on TV commercials. It seemed like it sold wine. Wang Ling was holding Loopy Toad and couldn't move his hand at all. Seeing this, the man in suits awkwardly pulled his hand back and said, "It's like this, my Landscape Manor is very interested in the antique mask that Mr. Wang bought not long ago, and would like to buy it again at a high price. Today's negotiations are more or less over, and we come with full sincerity." Speaking of sincerity, the man in suits didn't forget to heft the suitcase in his hand. "I hope Mr. Wang and your esteemed father will consider it carefully. We'll pay you a visit in 2 days. Then the two men took off the shoe covers on their leather shoes, bowed respectfully to Wang Jiao and his son, and turned to leave the Wang family's small villa. Chapter 89. Father Wang knew of Loopy Toad's existence, and also knew that Wang Ling would bring it home to raise. Nowadays, WeChat was very convenient to communicate with everything. At the beginning of the semester, the school had already set up a parents group, and Teacher Pan would send a message to the parents group, no matter how big or small. After Loopy Toad decided to follow Wang Ling home, Teacher Pan immediately sent a message to Father Wang. Furthermore, he repeatedly asked Father Wang if he wanted Wang Ling to bring back some dog food. This made Father Wang a little embarrassed. After all, nowadays, whether it was cat food or dog food, both were probably much more expensive than human food. It was no longer a secret in number 60 high that Wang Ling's family wasn't well off. When Teacher Pan asked Father Wang, she was still planning a home visit in her heart. Although she usually looked a little fierce, a little cold, and didn't look like someone who was easy to get along with, she still felt warm in her heart. Teacher Pan felt that education was one thing, but so was a student's spiritual development. Teacher Pan felt that children from poor families would naturally have a sense of inferiority in their hearts. Combined with Wang Ling's usually taciturn image, Teacher Pan had always felt that he was actually a very self-abased person. So at school, Teacher Pan was very careful not to mention anything about his family in front of Wang Ling, so as not to hurt his self-esteem. In addition, she often urged her students not to compare with others in anything other than academic performance. All in all, Wang Ling felt that Teacher Pan's misunderstanding of him was already so big that even the Huangpu River wouldn't be able to wash it clean. Inferiority complex didn't exist at all. Wang Ling would never forget the first time he had gone to the bathroom with the other boys, and the looks of astonishment on their faces as they stared at his Tower of Babel. In order to avoid making the other boys feel inferior, all these years Wang Ling had tried his best to only go to the bathroom when there was no one else around. Wang Ling changed into slippers and put Loopy Toad on the ground. In the end, it was as if this guy had been petrified. Without Wang Ling's next order, this Demon King didn't even dare move. Wang Ling kicked Loopy Toad's butt lightly. Only then did Loopy Toad come back to its senses, shake its fur, and obediently lie down at Father Wang's feet. Father Wang had heard Wang Ling talk about Loopy Toad's background, and knew that it had been a demon king in its previous life. Father Wang had thought that this was a rather unruly existence. He never expected it to be so obedient in front of Wang Ling. From the looks of it, he has trained him well. Father Wang nodded in satisfaction and stroked Loopy Toad's fur. No. 60 High School, students would bring cleansing talismans to clean Loopy Toad's body every few days, so its fur was exceptionally soft to the touch. Father Wang felt that it felt very good to the touch. The only thing that was lacking was that the color of the fur was a little strange. Why is its fur green? Father Wang asked curiously as he stroked Loopy Toad's fur and pinched its little fat face. Wang Ling didn't respond. Because of his occupational disease as a web novelist, Father Wang very quickly started to fill in the blanks. Then Father Wang couldn't help sighing in his heart. Just from the color of its fur, it wasn't hard to tell that this was definitely a dog with a story. You must have experienced many emotional setbacks, right? It was hard to be a man these days, but it was also hard to be a dog. Wang Ling. At this time, Mother Wang and the old man were still busy in the kitchen. Originally, the old man didn't plan to let anyone help him. But since Lai Mingming's arrival, the old man's psychological defenses had already crumbled a little. In the end, he decided to let Mother Wang help him out. Actually, it was mainly for her to supervise whether or not the salt had been put in. Generally speaking, this time before dinner was when the Wang family's father and son would have a heart-to-heart talk. But this conversation was a little strange. Wang Ling didn't speak the whole time, and directly communicated with Father Wang telepathically. Thus, the whole scene looked a little strange. What Father Wang wanted to talk about this time was mainly about the two men in suits from before. Landscape Manor was a giant corporation comparable to Huagua Water Curtain Group. Among them, it was famous for its wine business. Almost every TV station had Landscape Manor's wine commercials, which had been on the air for hundreds of years, and could be considered a household name. Wang Ling remembered that when he had still been in the stroller, he had heard these advertising slogans until his ears had gone numb. But the truth was that wine only accounted for 20% of Landscape Manor's total annual profits. As for the remaining 80% of the huge profit, it was brought by the second sideline of the villa, the antique business. Of course, most ordinary people didn't know about Landscape Manor's antiques business. The reason why Father Wang knew about this had to do with his profession. Online writers were a mysterious group. They usually stayed at home and typed their stories, and probably didn't have many offline gatherings. But Father Wang had never missed an online event, and it was through these online events that he got to know a lot of different people. After all, most online writers didn't work full-time. Through these people, Father Wang was able to come into contact with all walks of life and learn about all kinds of interesting news and gossip. Father Wang had heard about Landscape Manor's secondary business from an author who ran an antique shop. Perhaps there was an element of exaggeration in it. But Father Wang felt that 70% of it was credible. Thus, based on the Wang family's motto of keeping a low profile, Father Wang felt that this incident was quite serious. It really wasn't a good thing to be targeted by such a giant corporation. At the very least, it had already affected the Wang family's pace of life. I think you should know how serious this matter is without me telling you. Wang Ling nodded, cupped his chin in thought, and seemed to say something to Father Wang. Very quickly, a doubtful expression appeared on Father Wang's face. Are you sure there's nothing wrong with the mask? Don't tell me you've never made a mistake yourself? Or have you ever thought that ordinary methods can't detect anything special about this mask? Father Wang's question startled Wang Ling. Indeed, Wang Ling had only tried the stone ghost mask on before, and hadn't done any further tests. It was indeed a little arbitrary to say that there was nothing wrong with it. Lying on the ground, Loopy Toad flicked its tail and stared at this miraculous father and son pair. This was probably the quietest father-son exchange in history, and Father Wang's voice was the only one in the room. Looking at the current situation, there's most likely something fishy about this mask. Otherwise, this bunch of people wouldn't be stupid enough to pay 2 million yuan for a mask that costs 5 yuan online, right? Chapter 90. After his discussion with Father Wang, Wang Ling had a profound understanding of the threat posed by Landscape Manor. Such a giant group had actually set its sights on the Wang family. Whether or not Landscape Manor would ultimately get what it wanted, it probably wouldn't end well. At the moment, Wang Ling actually had a very limited grasp of the situation. Although he had learned from Father Wang that Landscape Manor had an antique business as a sideline, he had only scratched the surface. Secondly, there was the rumor that the stone ghost mask was cursed from the cellar. If the rumor was true, then this stone ghost mask should be in existence that people avoided like snakes and scorpions. No one would be stupid enough to spend such a huge sum of money on a cursed mask and invite disaster upon themselves. From this, it could be seen that there was most likely a problem with this mask. But the strangest thing was that Wang Ling actually hadn't noticed it at all. At dinner, Wang Ling ate his rice absent-mindedly as he kept recalling what Father Wang had said to him earlier. "Are you sure there's nothing wrong with the mask? Don't tell me you can't make a mistake yourself? Or have you ever thought that ordinary methods can't detect anything special about this mask?" Father Wang's 3 questions reminded Wang Ling once again. In some sense, Wang Ling felt that his existence was like a cheat in the world, and it could even be said that he was almost omnipotent. But in the end, humans weren't saints and there would always be some deviations. Wang Ling might be invincible in terms of realm, but when it came to temperament and cultivation experience, he felt that he couldn't compare with those old cultivators who had relied on their own hard work to reach their realms. One had to learn to be humble. This was what Father and Mother Wang had taught him since he was a child. While eating, Wang Ling kept thinking about the stone ghost mask and Landscape Manor, so much so that he looked a little absent-minded. Wang Ling wasn't paying attention and a ball of rice in his bowl fell onto the table. Mother Wang looked at it, frowned and said, "Why does Ling Ling look so absent-minded while eating today?" The old man stared at his grandson and said with some heartache, "Is the food not to your taste? Do you want to open a bag of crispy noodle snacks?" The corners of Father Wang's mouth turned up slightly as he smiled. "You two eat, don't mind him. I talked to him earlier and he's probably thinking about something. At Ling Ling's realm, it's fine even if he doesn't eat every day." Speaking up to this point, he suddenly thought of something. With a smack, he directly put down his bowl and chopsticks and hurried upstairs. Seeing Wang Ling go upstairs, Loopy Toad hurriedly got up from the ground and rushed up after him. The old man looked at Loopy Toad. "This dog isn't bad. Apart from its slightly chubby face, it doesn't have much flab. It looked quite powerful. I just don't know if it's useful or not. Can it scare the bad guys away when you're guarding the door?" The old man remembered that there was a popular breed among young people these days called the God-annoying dog. The old man always felt that it was cheap and festive and could not scare people at all. This dog was under Ling Ling's control not long ago. It was a demon king in its previous life. Now he's out of trouble. "Oh, Demon King. That's great. What a deterrent. And this dog. I feel like it's a little familiar. It reminds me of many things." "Dad, you've seen Loopy Toad before?" Father and Mother Wang were startled. "That's not it." The old man took a sip of the white wine, shook his head and said, "When I was young, I just became a chef. I fell in love with a girl. That girl was still teaching, a teacher training major. In the end, she found a boyfriend before I could confess my feelings. Later, I heard that the boyfriend she found was dating 23 other women at the same time." Father and Mother Wang took deep breaths. How could they handle it? The old man sighed. That man was too much of a scumbag. If that girl hadn't been so impatient back then, maybe she would have met me. I wanted to marry her back then, but fortunately I met your mother. Your mother is very virtuous. Otherwise, I would have wanted to chase after her. If that had been the case, you wouldn't be here." Hearing this, Father Wang wanted to cry but had no tears. "Dad, why are you suddenly bringing this up?" Usually, when the old man came over, Father and Mother Wang were very careful not to mention Grandma Wang Ling. They didn't even dare say her name. They were afraid that the old man would be sad and suffer from dementia. In the end, the old man had unexpectedly brought it up himself at dinner today, which made Father Wang feel a little strange. Hearing Father Wang's question, the old man paused slightly before saying, "It's nothing. I just saw that the dog's fur was pretty green. I suddenly felt that the girl I used to like was also pretty green. Father and Mother Wang. Returning to his room, Wang Ling picked up the stone ghost mask on the table again and carefully examined it. Unlike the previous simple test, Wang Ling opened his heavenly eye this time. If there was something wrong with this stone ghost mask, Wang Ling believed that the heavenly eye's ability to separate the false from the true would expose its true nature. Unfortunately, after staring at it for a long time, the mask still didn't budge. But this time, the heavenly eye's verification told Wang Ling two things. The first was that, judging from the material alone, this was indeed just a very hard mask made of primordial black crystal. The heavenly eye's ability to separate the false from the true was to see through the nature of the real world. If the mask had been tampered with, there was no way he wouldn't be able to tell. But the problem was that this stone ghost mask indeed wasn't as simple as it seemed. After Wang Ling repeatedly confirmed it with the heavenly eye, then there was only one truth that Wang Ling could think of. This stone ghost mask was a twin, and there were two of them in total. One had been circulated outside as a disguise, while the other, which had truly been cursed and had been tampered with, had been secretly hidden somewhere else. Simply put, one was in the light while the other was in the dark. If it was a twin stone ghost mask, once one had been tampered with, the other would also be cursed. If this was the case, the heavenly eye wouldn't be able to detect any problems. This was a speculation that Wang Ling had come up with while eating just now, and a detail that he hadn't thought of before. So the question now was, where on earth was the other cursed stone ghost mask now? Under normal circumstances, Wang Ling could definitely use the heavenly eye to track down the stone ghost mask's whereabouts. Twin magic treasures weren't uncommon these days. Feather Lin's mother and child swords, for example, could in fact be considered a type of twin magic treasure. Once one sword was lost, Wang Ling could theoretically use the heavenly eye to track down the whereabouts of the other sword. But now, his heavenly eye actually didn't react at all. This was very strange, but this just happened to tell Wang Ling the second thing. Chapter 91. Now that he had the hypothesis, the next step was to verify it further. Even Wang Ling had to admit that his omnipotence was reflected in his abilities. He had a little bit of all kinds of abilities, big and small. But when it came to experience, he was still too young. The cultivation encyclopedias in the library, the cultivation epics of 1,000 years ago, the unsolved mysteries of 10,000 years ago, and so on and so forth. In order to make up for his shortcomings in experience, Wang Ling had already been able to recite them fluently at a very young age. However, most of these works had been passed down by word of mouth and then translated by later generations, so there were many historical facts that couldn't be verified. There were also times when Wang Ling ran into a difficult problem. At that time, he would choose to browse the cultivation forum and ask the seniors who were discussing it. When he was 6 years old, he had registered an account in the cultivation forum in order to find a way to suppress his strength. There were a lot of talented people in the forum, and there was all kinds of cultivation gossip every day. But Wang Ling rarely went online, and spent most of his time lurking. The cultivation forum owner's online ID was Grenade-Throwing Senior Immortal, and he was a very mysterious itinerant cultivator who often traveled the world. Wang Ling still had a lot of resentment towards this Grenade-Throwing Senior Immortal, because back then, it was this guy who had tricked him into going to the 7 Stars Special Forces as an advisor. Recently, in order to consolidate his ties with some of the forum's old users, Grenade-Throwing Senior Immortal had specially set up a chat group for offline activities. And Wang Ling had been inexplicably and forcibly pulled into the altar owner's cultivation chat group. Wang Ling had initially just wanted to sneak onto the forum, and then anonymously post something to ask about the stone ghost mask. Who knew that as soon as he went online, a chat window would automatically pop up on the screen, user, Ling Jinren, already online. Wang Ling knew that it was already too late to log off at this time. The chat group very quickly exploded. What the hell? Ling Jinren? Am I seeing things? Isn't this the 10,000-year lurker king? I'm not seeing things, it's really Ling Jinren. The legendary big shot is finally online. How exciting. Ha! The online reminder function set up by the group owner is really awesome. Even the 10,000-year diving king spiritual master Wang Ling fell for it. Wang Ling looked at the IDs of these people. There were some he didn't recognize and some he did recognize. Many of them had participated in the rescue operation during the demon rampage 6 years ago. 6 years ago, the female cultivator, Xian Jinren, who stuffed herself into the ball-shaped object, was now the administrator of this chat group. But Cailian Jinren had no idea at all about Wang Ling's specific identity, because in this group, only altar leader grenade-throwing senior immortal had actually seen Wang Ling in person. Furthermore, grenade-throwing senior immortal's understanding of Wang Ling was almost identical to old Li's. They all thought that Wang Ling was just a 1,000-year-old demon who looked very young. Furthermore, he had disguised himself as a student and lived the life of a high school student in order to experience what it was like to travel incognito. After a moment of silence, Wang Ling finally typed, "Is Altar Master there? Immortal Toya. From now on, it's better for Ling Jinren to call us group leader. Ling Jinren hasn't been online for a long time. I'm afraid he doesn't know how the forum is doing right now." This Immortal Toya was also one of the older members of the group, and he was an alchemist. In the past, he would often share some gossip about alchemy in the forum, and sometimes he would even livestream alchemy. Every time his furnace blew up, people would rush forward to give him gifts. Cailian Jinren sent a shrug emoji. "Then let me explain it briefly." Wang Ling sent a question mark. Although it was true that Wang Ling hadn't been on the cultivation forum for a long time, it wasn't to the point where it couldn't continue. Why were all of them frowning? Cailian Jinren sent a row of sighing emojis. It's not that the forum can't continue to operate right now. On the contrary, it's very famous now, but after it became famous, those ignorant juniors in the cultivation world often post about it. In short, the current atmosphere is very discordant. "That's right," Immortal Toya replied. Not long ago, a battle post with the ID Xiao clan's Xiao Dingtian appeared on the forum, and he publicly posted on the forum asking to break off his engagement with Naylan Xian. Sending money to Wanlu, creating a water army and causing the forum to be in an uproar. It's a foul atmosphere. To be able to say such a shameful thing so openly, I really don't understand young people nowadays. Reading this, Wang Ling basically understood. The cultivation forum had been established for less than 15 years, and had only become popular in the last few years, relying on a large number of high-quality cultivation articles to attract a large number of users. But the problem with the large number of users now was that the quality of the good and the bad was mixed, and the cultivation forum wasn't as harmonious as before. It's just as Immortal Toya said. That's why we asked the forum owner to set up a chat group and pull together all the old users from the forum. The forum is in charge of the forum's operations and we'll talk among ourselves. To sum it up in one sentence, it would be, close the forum, save your IQ. Cailian Jinren typed with righteous indignation. So if Ling Jinren needs anything in the future, just say it directly in the group. "Everyone in the group is one of us," said a person with the ID 9 times in one night. Wang Ling didn't know this person. In fact, there were a lot of people he didn't know. There were 108 old users in the cultivation chat group. Wang Ling only really knew 1/10 of them. Seeing that Wang Ling didn't reply, 9 times in one night sent a fist salute emoji. "Greetings, great senior Ling Jinren. Ling Jinren can call me 9 times man. I've heard of great senior Ling Jinren's name before, but I joined the forum 3 years after him. I've learned a lot in the 7 years I've been in the forum. I've always hoped to have a chance to exchange pointers with Ling Jinren. 9 times man, don't joke around. Great senior Ling Jinren is an existence that the group owner himself admits is stronger than him. Even if you want to joke around, there should be a limit." Bueling Blade Immortal laughed. "I'm serious. How is the sunflower manual I just cultivated funny?" 9 times man sent a charred emoji. Wang Ling. After he said this, a person with the ID Lightning Dharmaraja couldn't help lecturing 9 times man. 9 times man, how many times have I told you that the sunflower manual has long been lost? The book you bought online is definitely fake. You want to challenge Ling Jinren to a duel after cultivating a fake technique? Ling Jinren can stab you to death with a single strand of his nose hair. Wang Ling. Hearing that the sunflower manual he had purchased was being questioned, 9 times man was unconvinced again. "What makes you think it's fake?" Lightning Dharmaraja chuckled. "Do you dare recite the first sentence of the Heart Sutra?" Bueling Blade Immortal. "I heard that the first sentence of the real sunflower manual is that if you want to cultivate this technique, you must first castrate yourself. 9 times man, you can't really, is that so? The first sentence of my sunflower treasured manual?" The rims of 9 times man's eyes were already moist. Little Sunflower Mommy's class is starting. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.